Okay, today's notes are on slope. We're just going to introduce it. First thing you need to do is to take the blue-green paper that I gave you today, pre-printed with partial notes. You're going to use the mini book video that we did before, and you're going to fold it up into the mini book. On the top is your cover page which says slope with your definition, and then inside will be the little pages that follow. Alright, so let's talk about what slope is. I know you heard in 6th grade and 7th grade, oh, it's rise over run. We can all say rise over run. But what does that mean? We're going to talk about what slope means. So the definition of slope is the steepness of a line. So let's think about it. When you go skiing or snowboarding, you go on a hill and you have all sorts of different runs. Well, first we're going to start with no run. If it's just flat, like this, you're not going anywhere. Okay, you get on your snowboard, you're just going to stand there. Unless you push yourself, there is no slope. So this is a slope of 0. Now on the other extreme, you have this right here. This would be a cliff. This is a cliff. A cliff is undefined. That would be death. So this is undefined. That is death. Alrighty. Alright, now we have the other various forms, right? We have the bunny slope, right? It's kind of flat. You're not going anywhere, right? Okay, so that's my bunny slope. That's like the green circle, right? Okay. And then the more challenging one, going up a little bit more, you got the blue diamond, right? Or sorry, the blue square. That's right, the blue square, right? So that's a little more challenging, right? And then if you're really extreme, you're one of those really extreme guys, then you can do the black diamond, right? It's super steep, it's got moguls, it's really challenging. Okay, so there's your black diamond. All right, there we go. So different kinds of slope. And they're going to start flat, go up pretty steep until finally you get to a cliff which is undefined. All right, when we follow a line, we're going to read a line like we read. We're going to go left to right. So if you've seen the movie Zoolander, you know, Zoolander had a problem. He could only turn left. Well, we have Bob again, and Bob can only walk left to right. So there's Bob. And that means if he can only go left to right, in this case he is walking up. Okay? If our line looked like this, then Bob would be walking down. Okay? If Bob is walking up, then it is positive. And if Bob is walking down, then the line is negative. Okay? So slope can be positive and slope can be negative. All right. Let's move on. Mathematically, what is slope? Now, forget the rise over run thing first. What is slope? Well, we said it's the steepness of the line. It's also going to be a fraction, okay? A slope is a fraction. You do want a fraction. Even if it's a whole number, you need to make it a fraction. So slope is a fraction. So really what the slope is it is the change in the height versus the change in the width. Okay, that's going to show, it's going to be consistent and it's going to give you your slope. So it's the change in the height over the change in the width. And that's where you come up with your rise over run. So those three things, right? So you have, it's a fraction, it's the change in height over the change in the width, and that's where your rise over run comes from. You're saying, Mrs. Woolley, I still don't get it. Well, I understand that. So let me give you an example. If you've ever been to the CAC, they have those weird steps in the front, right? It's like super short and then really long in between the steps. And so if you try and run, you trip and fall. It's kind of like step and then you got to run to the next step and then little step and you run to the next step. They're a pain. And it's because they're not standard. If you go to your staircases at home or out here in the CMS, you're going to find that a standard staircase is 7 inches tall and 11 inches wide. That's the standard stepping for most people. It'll accommodate most everybody's foot, and it's about the gait or the walk that you have. Okay, so it's going to be 7 inches tall, and it's going to be 11 inches wide. We'll just use this over here to show. So if this is 7 inches by 11, 7 inches by 11, okay, and it carries on. Now my slope is the steepness of that line. So if I connected those staircases together like this, okay, then the steepness of my line would be the rise of 7, there's my rise, and a run of 11. That's where your rise over run comes. It's the change in the height over the width, and it's going to be consistent every time. Okay? So the way to remember that, though, is that this is a little different what we've done before. If you're sitting in a desk and you want to get to the door, you cannot get to the door unless you stand up first and then go to the door. Otherwise, you're going to be scooting your chair and then I'd get upset, right? So it's going to be the rise before the run to get to the door. All right, so in math, though, you know, we are all about substitutions and shortcuts, and so in this case, we're going to use the word M. Okay, and M stands for slope. Why? We don't know, except the theory is he's a French mathematician who first coined it, and the French word for mountain is montagne, so we're thinking that maybe that's what he was thinking of, okay? So when you're talking about slope, slope is equal to rise over run. That's where this is coming from, okay? Rise over run. All right, that's the math thing we've been talking about. All right, so let's look at how do we actually find the slope from a line. So here I have a fabulous line, and I want to know what the slope is. I want to know how steep it is. Well, I know it's not going to be super steep because, you know, this looks more like a blue square, right? All right, here's what you do. First, you're going to find 2 pretty points. And by pretty points, what I'm talking about is, it is a point where it has a perfect coordinates, whole numbers, right? So it means it's where your x and your y's come together to form a star, right? So you got an xy intersection, and you have the line intersecting at a perfect pretty point. So what you need to do is find 2 pretty points, any 2 pretty points, right? All right, here's 2 pretty points. And then I'm going to draw my stair step in between. So my rise and my run. Then I'm going to count the boxes, right? This is 1 box, and this is 1, 2 boxes. Okay, then I'm going to write it. Slope is equal to my rise of 1 over my run of 2. And you say, yeah, Mrs. Roy, but what if I use a different point? What if I use this point here and this point up here? Okay, so let's draw our stair step. We went up this far. We're going to come over this far. Lovely. So this would be a rise of 1, 2, 3, 4. And a run of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 boxes. All right, 8 boxes. All right, so that would make my slope of a rise of 4 and a run of 8. Oh, wait a minute, though. These can both divide by 4, and that gives me 1/2. Oh, I also need to worry about the positive or negative here. So I put Bob on the line. Remember, he can only walk left to right. He is walking up. Oh, yeah. Positive 1/2. All right? 1 on the next page. Try it and see what you can do. Come up with your pretty points. Draw your stair step. Reduce it down to the fraction and tell me what your slope is. And remember, you know you love math.